Obviously, the big news that everybody's talking about and everybody's absolutely playing is Animal Crossing.
Hmm.
So on March 20th, Nintendo released Animal Crossing for the Nintendo Switch, and everybody's been absolutely going bonkers over this super fun video game about being on a cute little island with some fun little animal characters and building a house. I know I've put probably about 140 hours into it since the game came out, just because I've been at home and I haven't been working, and I have had nothing to do other than this and cook. So I've been very much enjoying it. And I think that it's really been a saving grace for a lot of people during this time when we're all self quarantining, because it allows a sense of productivity that might not be even, physical, but it allows you to feel like you're doing something whenever you can't get out of the house. You can't go to work. You can't actually be producing something. It gives you that false sense of satisfaction of having done something in your day. And I think I've been very guilty in allowing myself to experience that emotion and then being like, okay, I'm done for the day. I don't need to do anything else.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's true for people too who are struggling right now with mental health. If they're struggling with anxiety or depression, it's a great way for them to kind of connect with people, through online or just, by themselves, right? It's just a way for them to kind of keep themselves busy and kind of stave off maybe those thoughts they're having in their head, something to kind of entertain them, right? Because even for me myself, I don't have the game. I haven't like touched my Switch the entire time I've been in quarantine. I'm too busy with other things. But even for myself, I feel like I'm getting kind of crazy just sitting in the house all day. So I think, much to your point, it's just a way for them to be distracted and keep themselves productive in a way, in quotes.
I super agree. And there's a very big community aspect to it too. On Twitter, you see people posting the price that their turnips sell for each day, which is kind of like a virtual stock market kind of situation. So you can visit that person's island and sell your turnips for more than you would maybe if you were at your own island. Or people have made websites that are allowing other people to interact to get maybe recipes that they want or items that they want that they have not yet to get in their game, called Nookazon, which is basically just like an Amazon clone. And I think that people are just putting a lot of effort into building this community based online interaction sense that's really good. I think I think any time that people can come together to do something for a mutual gain is going to be a good thing to do in this kind of situation where we're all kind of stuck away from each other.
Yeah, and it also seems to be having a huge impact on the industry as a whole, now that people are having to start to work remote. And now that you have major events like, the Electronic Entertainment Expo and others getting just basically the physical events, at least either being pushed back or outright canceled, right? Where they're now having to try and switch to online, like events and video conferencing. I know that seems to be proving to be a real challenge. Like the director of the Smash Bros. Series, Sakurai, has said that trying to work remote has been a real challenge because with them working on the next set of characters, it's like they don't want any of this valuable information to get leaked out, right? And how do you keep the information you're working on confidential while trying to work remote?
That's extremely true, and that brings into a lot of aspects of what is actually encrypted when things are. I know a lot of companies are no longer using Zoom, the software that we're using, because there have been a lot of instances of passwords and emails being leaked. A lot of like stuff about the encryption not actually like being super great and being easy to get through. But I mean, obviously, we're not doing anything too important here that would require secrecy. So I don't think we need to worry about that. But I feel like it's a lot harder for those people who need to keep secrets to be able to do this kind of work remotely. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's also a bit of a problem too, because if you think about it, what they do isn't really essential work, right? So I think that just kind of adds to, the complexity of the problem, right? They're not grocery store workers, they're not, UPS drivers, they're not doing something important per se, right? But yet, much like what you were talking about with Animal Crossing, you could almost kind of argue in a way that what they're doing is kind of important, right? The way that what they do and what they make and how it has helped us through this quarantine.
I think entertainment is a very big industry right now, or not very big, but an extremely important one right now. I know during the earlier conversation about anime, they were talking about how just like enrapturing some of these series are. I personally
Hmm.
just finished Beastars and Demon Slayer.
Hmm.
I thought those were amazing. And I feel like I have a lot of friends who are experimenting with a lot of entertainment that they would not normally be,
Hmm.
just because there's so much more time and there's not really much else to do. And to speak to that, a lot of companies have been giving away games for free, doing certain demos or certain things that they normally would not have done, just
Hmm.
to kind of encourage people to stay inside and stay safe. I know Sony has recently given away a couple games for free to just anybody who wants to install it.
Hmm.
Journey, made by that game company, and the Nathan Drake collection of Uncharted, made by Naughty Dog, have recently gone free, and they're also supporting the developers of those games by, I think, giving them like $10 million or something like that to be able to support their staff.
Yeah, that's really, I think that's a really wonderful thing to see. And I think somewhat deviating, I mean, kind of to your point about the anime thing, I think that's true, just anime and entertainment in general, right? I myself had just finished, what was it, Devilman Crybaby and Neon Genesis Evangelion, right? So, I mean, when you have free time, it almost seems like, you have all the time in the world. So it's like, yeah, why don't I go watch that show I've been meaning to watch or play that game I've been meaning to play, right?
That's very true. I really need to watch Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm like 4 episodes in for the past 2 years, and it's very interesting. But every time that I try to watch it, I have that sense of, oh, I should be doing something else. And I feel like now is a great time to do that. Now is a great time to,
Hmm.
like finish playing that game that maybe you played for a couple hours, and then had to go. Like I had that situation whenever I started playing Skyrim several years ago. I played for about 2 hours and I was like, this is the most beautiful game I've ever seen. This is amazing. And then I never picked it up again because I knew I wanted to put that time investment into it that I now am able to.
Yeah, I'm actually having a similar situation where I actually got the Link's Awakening remake on Switch back in Christmas. I played up to like the fourth dungeon and then I never went back and finished it. And even though I'm in quarantine and I would technically have all the time in the world, I just haven't gotten around to it.
I feel like there's a really big stigma right now about being productive during quarantine. Like you see those posts on Instagram, you see,
Hmm.
sponsored news articles that say if you're not being productive, if you're not creating something, if you are not producing something, then you are wasting time. And I don't really think that's true. I don't think a person's value is tied to their productivity. And I think that people should be allowed to ingest media that will allow them to, maybe get inspiration to do something of their own. And even if they don't,
Yeah.
then that's okay. I feel like video games are a very good avenue to take in that situation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I myself have kind of, it's not from other people, but it's kind of more of a self-imposed stigma. Now that I'm in this quarantine, I've been telling myself, you should write more screenplays, you should make more paintings. And I haven't really been doing it as much as I want to. And much like you were saying, I do think I feel kind of bad sometimes when I'm sitting there and I'm watching like anime, right? It's like out of all the things I'm doing, I'm watching anime, and it just feels kind of childish. But I think you make a great point how you can get inspiration from anime and games. Because in watching these shows and playing these games that I've been doing during quarantine, I've been getting a lot of inspiration for what, I might want to write about in future and whatnot.
I take very much to that. I had a situation a couple years ago where I was working at a desk job for the first time, and I just had a lot of free mental space. I would say it was a really easy IT position, and so I was taking inspiration from Zelda games, and I had written down like an entire plot of a game that I wanted to make and that I eventually started working on, never really finished, that would revolve around, say, like a trust system in a Zelda style video game. And I thought that, it was a fun idea to implement with, a handful of branching paths, but my expertise at the time never really lent to me finishing it. So maybe I will get back to it. I should also replay the Zelda Link's Awakening remake, just because the amount of, the storytelling and the music and the visuals are just, the most beautiful thing.
Yeah, for sure.